Hello everyone, welcome to another Stargate lore video. Today we're going to be talking about the Protected Planets Treaty.
So, basically, you guys are bluffing the Goa'uld, big time.
History. The Protected Planets Treaty was formed at an unknown date in the past between the Goa'uld Empire and the Asgard Empire.
Orilla is the last chance of ever rebuilding our empire.
See, Thor called it an empire. None of you can get on me about it. In general, the treaty states that any world designated as protected by the Asgard were off limits to Goa'uld. However, the Goa'uld viewed it as more as an official way to recognize that humans exist solely for the purpose of serving them as either slaves or hosts. Whether or not this is actually stated in the treaty, I cannot say. In 1999, Earth was added as the 27th protected planet. However, we can probably put a giant asterisk next to that, as Earth seems to have been exempt from all of the normal restrictions compared to other protected planets. In 2004, after the defeat of Anubis and Baal's rise to power, he planned to take the worlds protected under the treaty, as he believed the Asgard could no longer protect these worlds. Which he was right.
Very, very large brain.
The remaining system lords also believed the Asgard were not in a position to uphold the treaty, so they tried to make a deal with Earth, in which they would give Earth hyperdrives so they could uphold the treaty. However, in reality, this was an attempt by the remaining system lords to have Earth and Baal fight each other so they had time to recover. However, with the destruction of the Goa'uld Empire in 2005 and the later extinction of the Asgard in 2007, the treaty has essentially been nullified. Treaty details. The treaty had many sections, addendums, and subsections to it. For example, Treaty Law Section 326 states no human planet will be allowed to advance technologically to a point where they may become a threat to the Goa'uld. The definition of such threat rests solely with the High Council of the System Lords. Addendum 10815 allows the Goa'uld to use the passage of Nylor in exchange for allowing Earth into the treaty. And finally, Section 42 states that people of a protected planet cannot be artificially advanced through Asgard technological means. This also means the Asgard are not allowed to interfere with natural disasters with the use of their technology, and any use would nullify the treaty entirely. There were other rules to the treaty, but we don't know what specific sections, addendums, or subsections they are listed under. For example, if a rogue Goa'uld attacks a protected planet, the system lords have the responsibility to prevent the attack in order to maintain the treaty. Another rule is the treaty does allow for the arbitration of disputes if one party believed another violated the treaty, in which case a commission of inquiry consisting of equal numbers of Asgard and Goa'uld representatives would need to be assembled. However, if other parties took part in the dispute, they would need to be present or provide testimonials as well. And finally, while not a rule, it was customary to have meetings on a planet when its membership in the treaty was in question. Violations. Despite the nature of the treaty to supposedly end hostilities between the Asgard and Goa'uld, it was violated multiple times, supposedly by both parties, but we'll get to that. The most prominent example of when the Goa'uld violated the treaty is when Henry attacked the planet Sumeria, after Thor's hammer was destroyed by SG-1.
Yeah, we sort of messed that up.
And the planet was left defenseless, though it was saved when SG-1 contacted Thor and Thor came to the rescue. After this, the only real main attempts to circumvent the treaty were done by Anubis and were usually leveled toward Earth. In 2001, he sent Tanith to force the Tolan to build phase-shifting bombs, and later ordered one to be used on Earth. However, at the time no one knew Anubis was alive, so the System Lords, and probably one of the few times they were being honest, said they genuinely knew nothing about this attack. In 2002, there would be two more attacks on protected planets by Anubis. The first is when he sent a meteorite on a collision course with Earth. Said meteorite was 40% Aquadria, and attempting to destroy it with a nuke would result in an explosion similar to a supernova. And the second attack was on Adara II, led by Osiris, another lord of Anubis. Thor was captured during this event and was probed by Anubis.
What a twist!
Later being rescued by SG-1, and Freyr showing up to scare off the Goa'uld ships. In 2004, Anubis would launch a full-scale attack on Earth, but was stopped thanks to the drone weapons in the Ancient Outpost. The Asgard supposedly violated this treaty a few times as well. The first was when SG-1 gated to Katau, but because their gate ignores some safety features, they ended up damaging the sun. Due to the treaty, the Asgard were not allowed to fix the problem. Stargate Command tried to fix the problem, but their first plan failed, and while there was little hope for their second plan, they tried it anyways and it somehow worked. With SG-1 theorizing their second attempt gave the Asgard a chance to interfere with plausible deniability to the Goa'uld. However, this was never confirmed. The Asgard's second violation was all the tech upgrades they provide to Earth's fleet, as a way of saying thank you for helping us defeat the replicators. As to why the Goa'uld didn't notice or didn't object to this, I can't say. My best guess is they just didn't know. Protected planets. The treaty protected 27 planets, to which we know the names of at least 8. Since I can barely pronounce even the most basic words in English, I'm just going to post 7 of them here, with the 8th being Earth. Most of these worlds were settled by humans, who either lived primitive lives or ones just shy of the space age. Earth was the most interesting addition to the treaty, and during the original meeting to add Earth to the treaty, it was going to be subject to the same restrictions as the other protected planets, and would even have to hand over their Stargate.
Both of them.
However, due to the actions of Neftiri attempting to kill Kronos and sabotage the meeting in general, the System Lords allowed Earth to keep their Stargates and travel off-world. However, it was under the understanding that if they were caught by a System Lord, they would be shown no mercy. Besides that, Earth enjoyed all the protections that came from being a protected planet. The only real restriction that came with it was the Asgard couldn't advance them technologically, which we saw that they abandoned at times. And that was the Protected Planets Treaty. Personally, I really like this treaty. Not the treaty itself, it's a pretty bad treaty for humanity. What I love about it is the world building it gives. It's not known if the treaty was signed before or after the Asgard encountered the replicators, but it turned into a way for the Asgard to essentially bluff the Goa'uld with the threat of war to not attack certain human worlds, a bluff they could in no way uphold. Again, it's a nice bit of world building and it really shows how cool the Asgard are. Unlike some other races, which I won't name, they cared enough about humanity to try and help them with the Goa'uld. Yes, it's an imperfect treaty, but given their situation, it was the best they could come up with. But what do you think about the treaty? Do you think it sucks? Or do you think it was the best solution the Asgard could have come up with given their situation? Let me know in the comments below and maybe like and subscribe. Yes, I'm doing that now. Oh, and remember,
always bet big when bluffing.